Gilbot sends out Garchomp. These Dragon Tails are resisted, but my god, are they chunking. Garchomp going to be showing its bulk, easily tanking the drill run. Gilbot then returns fire with the Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb, not the best move, but still enough to secure the knockout. The opponent sends out Dragonite, looking for the farm down. However, Garchomp, far too thick, we leave with the Sand Tomb as well. Welcome back to the home of Shadow Pokemon. This is going to be the final upload of the Master League Premier. However, the Pokemon you are going to see on the screen can definitely be used in the Open Master League. This week I have been focusing on the spicier picks, stuff like Swampert, Walrien, Venusaur, Hariyama and Shadow Magnezone. All them videos are available on the channel. However, if you want something more meta, today we are going to be displaying two of the top meta monsters, both with enormous stat products and both cover each other really well. The Pokemon I'm talking about are Metagross and the newly released Garchomp. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, today's featured battler Gilbot. Huge shout out to Gilbot, he has been featured on the channel before. He has a very impressive collection of Shadow Pokemon, I'm sure you can tell that, because this is an immensely expensive triple Shadow team. He led his Gyarados into Metagross, the opponent shielded up the Crunch but then safe switched into their own Gyarados. Our Gyarados has put in a whole heap of work, getting the opposing Gyarados deep into the red. Gilbot can now send out his own Metagross, look to go for the Bullet Punch farm down. We correctly shielded up a Crunch, the opponent only makes an Aqua Tail, we easily tank that, get the full Bullet Punch farm down. The opponent's final Pokemon is Haxorus. The opponent then makes a savage catch, catching the Meteor Mash back onto Metagross, but Shadow Metagross hits like an absolute truck. This second resisted Meteor Mash going to be enough to secure the knockout, the opponent saving their final shield for Haxorus. However, trainer, let's be real, you can save that shield for next season. Gilbot can shield up the Breaking Swipe, even debuff these Dragon Tails, tear through Haxorus, and we're off to a 1-0 start. In the next battle, we see Florges in the lead, a bit of a core breaker, as both Gyarados and Garchomp don't really want to see it. I imagine we're just going to stay in, sack the lead and look to farm down with Metagross. We land the Aqua Tail. Even one Moonblast isn't going to knock out and the opponent's going to struggle to farm us down. The opponent goes for the Disarming Voice. That is the better players. 2 Disarming Voices do get the job done. We do sack the Gyarados and now it's time for Metagross to come in for a very hefty Bullet Punch farm down. Florges can only hit Metagross for resist. It looks like the opponent is staying in and going to give us a huge energy lead. The opponent going to full send the Moonblast and Metagross shrugs it off saying, "You stupid fairy, is that all you've got?" The opponent now sends out a Waterfall Gary. We're going to farm up, fire off the Meteor Mash. Shadow Meteor Mash still chunks. Despite it's resisted, it almost does 50% of the HP. We stay in, fire off the second Meteor Mash, looking to get ourselves shield advantage. The opponent doesn't shield and we catch the Aqua Tail onto Garchomp. We shield it up. What is that final Pokemon? The final Pokemon is their own Garchomp. Gilbot going to be striking first with the Sand Tomb, lowering the opposition's defense. The opponent going to return fire with their own Sand Tomb. However, this looks like it's going to be game over. These Dragon Tails now tearing through each other. We've still got Metagross alive and we take a nice dub. Moving on to the next one. Another really annoying fairy lead. Again, Gilbot going to have to sack the Gyarados. 2 Aqua Tails do get this thing fairly low. Let's see if we can force CMP on the second. Gilbot farms up. Do we get the CMP tie? Yes, we do. The second Aqua Tail going to leave him deep in the red and deplete Togekiss of its energy. The opponent commits a shield, which is absolute best case scenario. Metagross can now come in, easily farm down before any flamethrower, but of course the opponent gets the boost. However, Metagross really doesn't give a flying fuck about any boosted charms. If anything, Metagross grateful for the defense buff as it just give it even more free energy. Out comes Extra Drill, we're loaded, we fire off the bait, the opponent takes the bait. Gilbot can now shield in return. If I was Gilbot, I'd then throw 5, look to CMP tie Extra Drill, as we do have the higher attacks that on the next Earthquake. Instead he goes for a very risky bait. The opponent says, "I'm not getting baited twice." They call it and it's Mamoswine in the back. We're getting hit for double super effective. However, Garchomp really oppressive. We lower their defense with the Sand Tomb. The opponent throws that energy and this now is just going to be game over. We can just save our shield for Metagross. Bullet Punch farm all the way down. If Excadrill makes a move, we could shield it up and hit him with the Meteor Mash to the face. GG's and thanks for playing. Gilbot out here overcoming some really rough leads. In the next battle, we pick up a much better lead. Our fake looking dragon out here hitting the real dragon for super effective. I've played this matchup a lot myself, how I always play it. I no shield the Dragon Claw and return fire with the crunch. Gilbot actually chose to shield up the Dragon Claw, and then we're going for a very risky bait. I'm not really a fan of this bait, because even if the opponent shields, we lose CMP the second time. So as you can see here, we're going to lose the one shield. I would have just played the 0-1. I tank the Dragon Claw, throw the crunch, and force the opponent to make the first shielding decision. However, we do come in with Garchomp, get ourselves a nice energy lead. The opponent sends out Gyarados, and you're going to notice we've got that Hail Mary. The question is, does the opponent respect the outrage? Yikes, sadly they do. This puts us in a really tricky spot. If Gilbot shields this up, which he does, he's going to get outpaced to the next Aqua Tail. Gyarados fires off the next Aqua Tail. It's going to be Metagross with a run-in start against whatever is in the back. Out comes Metagross. The opponent sends out their own Metagross behind on energy. So Gilbot sitting in a prime position. The opponent goes for the Meteor Mash trainer. That isn't going to cut it. We easily tank that. As the opponent threw the Meteor Mash, it allows Gilbot to massively overfarm. Earthquake going to be vanquishing the opposition back to their Pokeball. Out comes Gyarados, and as we overfarm, we're going to be able to throw the resisted Meteor Mash and take that game. So if you're the opponent there, just commit to the Earthquake, because then it prevents Metagross getting any extra energy. In the next battle, we see another annoying fairy. So obviously we're going to have to stay, and let's see if Gilbot manages to get the CMP on the second one, or is this opponent somewhat smarter? We throw the Aqua Tail. That wasn't CMP, as you could see the charm animation. The opponent commits to shield, they're going to commit to the full charm down, farm down. Gilbot can send in Metagross, shield once, commit to the farm down and get a huge running start. The opponent now at the flamethrower or aura spear, and we see the instant shield. The opponent full sends the flamethrower, then pivot out into Machamp, and Machamp is not going to appreciate the Meteor Mash. We bank the Meteor Mash for the road and pivot out into Garchomp. Garchomp going to be tanking anything from this purified Machamp. They throw the cross chop. They're already at cross chop number 2, and Gilbot smartly doesn't shield up, knowing Togekiss is still alive. We then commit to the full Dragon Tail farm down. Out comes Togekiss. We've got the outrage locked and loaded. This is a double resisted move. However, Garchomp hits like a truck. Is this enough to secure the knockout? Yes, it is. The opponent's final Pokemon is a Waterfall Gary, and this looks really tricky. We need to throw at good timing. Gilbot throws the first Meteor Mash. We're going to have to make 3. The first one goes unshielded. Gyarados looking to farm up to the back-to-back Aqua Tails. We invest our final Protect Shield here. The opponent now has the Aqua Tail locked and loaded. However, they don't throw. They can easily just shield this up, and I think we're about to get BM crunched for an unfortunate loss. GG's to that opponent. Let's see if we can bounce back in the next battle. We'll lead our Shadow Gary into Dragonite. Let's see if we play this one differently. The opponent gonna strike first with the Dragon Claw. Again, we see the shield. Come on, Gilbot, go for the crunch. We shield up the Dragon Claw, and the opponent actually gives up switch, sending out Excadrill, and that is pretty questionable. It looks like they attempted to catch a crunch, but all they caught is an Aqua Tail to the face. Gilbot stays in. We lose CMP. We're in Rockside range. Gilbot just gonna sack the Gary. And it looks like it's time to see what this new Shadow Garchomp can do. Garchomp, pretty bulky as its regular form. The Shadow, still bulky. We tank the drill on Gilbot, tearing through the opponent with the resisted Dragon Tails. We fire off the Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb goes unshielded, securing the knockout. Back out comes the opposition's Dragonite, looking for the farm down. However, they get farmed down instead. We leave with the Sand Tomb, and this Metagross is going to be permanently debuffed. Sand Tomb goes unshielded. We then pivot out into our own Metagross. However, with the defense drop, we can easily go straight Meteor Mash Gilbot. Probably going to get baited. The opponent fires off the Meteor Mash. However, we are going to be able to outpace to the back-to-back Meteor Mashes, as they only got a 1 bullet punch lead. The first Meteor Mash draws the Protect Shield, and the second one is going to be all she wrote. Very nicely done there in the end game, and we're back to winning ways. GG's, and thanks for playing. Shadow Garchomp running absolute riot there in the mid game. In the next battle, we see Excadrill. Even on Dragon Breath, this isn't a bad matchup. The opponent is able to win CMP, however, one Rock Slide definitely not going to cut it. However, one Aqua Tail will nearly one-shot. I imagine the opponent probably going to invest the shield here. The opponent tanks it. Do we get the Dragon Breath farm down? No, the opponent survives on an invisible HP, winning the 0 shield. Gilbot choosing to shield this up. And win lead. I don't dislike that play as Metagross and Garchomp cover each other really well. The opponent sends out Waterfall Gary. We land the crunch. The opponent still hanging on to 2 shields. They get a huge Waterfall farm down. Gilbot now sends out Garchomp. The opponent pivots out into Dragonite and here comes Metagross. Holy fucking crap. Look at these Shadow Bullet punches. Dragonite already down to around 50% HP. We fire off the Meteor Mash. The opponent invests their first shield. They need to super out to take us out. We see the instant no shield. Gilbot not falling for any silly masturbating habits from the opponent. They then fire off the next move on CMP. They still need to superpower. The opponent again Dragon Claws. An easy tank for Metagross. We're at the Meteor Mash. Does the opponent invest their final Protect Shield? Yes, they do. Some very questionable plays from the opponent. Out comes Garchomp. One Dragon Tail takes him out. And the opponent just concedes. Moving on to the next one. Same leads again. Gyarados into Excadrill. The opponent fires off the Rock Slide. Rock Slide goes unshielded. Does this opponent now shield the Aqua Tail? We've seen last time it does huge damage. Excadrill does invest that Protect Shield. Random side note, that shiny's pretty cool. Despite it not being a shadow, I actually wish I had that. The opponent throws the next Rock Slide. We take our shield advantage and it's now time for Garchomp to come in and do hopefully Shadow Garchomp things. We get a bit of lag. The opponent gives up switch, sending out Haxorus. Trainer, what the heck is that? This Haxorus is going to get eaten alive. We fire off the Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb draws a Protect Shield. Oh my days. Poor shield trainer. We shield up the Breaking Swipe. Garchomp still going to have to Dragon Tail farm all the way down. The opponent now sends out Florges and it's now going to be switch locked against Metagross and this is just game over. This funky looking fairy can throw whatever they like. I believe that's actually another shiny. Very cool. Is this a triple shiny team from the opponent? I'm getting distracted because this is just game over. We fire off the Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash does one shot. Back out comes Excadrill. We don't need to shield this up. We can just save our shield for Garchomp. Drill Run takes us out. We've got the Sand Tomb locked and loaded. Sand Tomb, not the best move. However, Excadrill always forgets its HP stat, and this should pretty much be enough to secure the dub. The opponent does survive, but 2 more Dragon Tails gets the job done. GG's. A really dominant lead. Haxorus doesn't like anything using Dragon Breath. We see the pivot into their own Gary. We're ahead in energy. Gilbot strikes first with the crunch. The opponent lets it go. Gilbot can now control switch advantage. We could tank this, we could shield this. Gilbot choose the shield up the crunch. We're then going to get a nice Dragon Breath farm down. Unfortunately, we do get a defense drop. However, if that is the best Gyarados answer, we could still be in a pretty good spot. The opponent waits out their time. They send back out Haxorus. Holy smokes, Haxorus not going to appreciate the crunch. The opponent invests the shield. We don't get a defense drop. However, the opponent does fire off that energy immediately. Breaking Swipe takes us out. Gilbot waiting out his timer. If I was Gilbot, I would have come in instantly, trying to get off a Dragon Tail. The opponent's switch timer does call. We now see Metagross into Empoleon. We are going to shield up the Hydro Cannon, and it's yet another shiny. Very nice. The opponent still has 1 Protect Shield remaining. Gilbot not full sending. How big are the opponent's cojones? We're going for the Meteor Mash bait. The opponent shields it up. They need to throw. Trainer, you need to throw. They throw on CMP. Empoleon was well over a Hydro Cannon. Earthquake going to be vanquishing them. The opponent looking to farm up 2 back-to-back moves, however they don't get there. This is going to be a Breaking Swipe, however the opponent now has no win con. We easily tank that, Dragon Tail farm down and take another game. Moving on to the next one. Gyarados into Mamoswine, much like Excadrill, due to their ground subtype and they definitely don't appreciate the Aqua Tails. And unlike Excadrill, Mamoswine does not appreciate the Dragon Breaths either, as they do not resist them. We tank the Avalanche, return fire with the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail does draw a shield. Can we make one more before we get farmed down? Yes, we can. The opponent now in a really tricky spot. Do they 2-shield their lead? Yes, they do. My God, is there anything in this meta that fancies seeing Shadow Metagross and Shadow Garchomp with no shields? We come into Metagross. Respect a potential high horsepower. The opponent throws the Avalanche back to back, so this is an easy tank. We are going to save 1 shield. Avalanche doesn't do a lot. We get the Bullet Punch farm down. The opponent sends out their own Metagross. We just got to be mindful of a potential catch. The opponent does not catch. It's going to be high Metagross by Metagross. The opponent's final Pokemon is the Mole. We've got enough HP to easily shield up the Drill Run and Earthquake him. However, we go for the Meteor Mash bait and the opponent concedes anyway. GG's. So to answer my own question, no, there isn't anything in this meta that wants to see both Garchomp and Metagross with no Protect Shields remaining. In the next battle, we see another Mole. We've seen this play out. We tank the rock slide. We're going to return fire with the Aqua Tail. The opponent attempts to catch on Togekiss, and Togekiss is met with its absolute worst nightmare. This sends me to a really happy place, seeing this stupid Charmer get absolutely wrecked. I think Togekiss is god tier on my hate list, along with Bastiodon. We shield up the Flamethrower, get the full Bullet Punch farm down. The opponent sends out Gyarados. However, Gyarados isn't going to appreciate all this energy, despite the fact they resist everything. Shadow Metagross hits so hard. This second Meteor Mash probably going to force a shield off the opponent. The opponent is going to have to throw. Looks like they're committing to the full Waterfall farm down. However, Metagross far too thick. We make the next Meteor Mash. The opponent is now all shields down. We come in, throw the Crunch. Crunch not going to knock out, but is going to leave him super low. We snipe with the Dragon Tail. And we see a Rage Quit from the opponent. You're using a Charmer, so you probably deserve it. I'm only kidding. You're all free to use whatever you want. It's just a running joke that I really fucking hate Charm. Or I think I should be more specific and say I hate Fairies, as the opponent is running a Waterfall Primarina. Another thing that's super annoying for Shadow Pokemon to deal with. It looks like Gilbot is investing shields here. We shielded up the Disarming Voice. We landed the first Crunch. Gilbot fires off the next Crunch. The opponent shields in return. I think at this stage we should just let Gyarados go down and look to Bullet Punch farm all the way down. We do tank the Disarming Voice, and it looks like me and Gilbot are synced up with our thoughts. We can now send in Metagross. The opponent isn't going to reach a Hydro Pump. The opponent actually switches out into Ursaluna, and Ursaluna not going to appreciate this Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash goes unshielded. It lands for huge damage. We pivot out into Garchomp. This did get access to Ice Punch this season. We do shield up the double super effective Ice Punch. We can then Dragon Tail farm all the way down. However, we now have no Protect Shields remaining. Primarina comes in. We didn't throw the charge move. The opponent throws the Disarming Voice. We survive. We farm down. The opponent sends out Mamoswine. We're going for a bait. We need the opponent to shield. We do get the shield with the Sandtomb. We get farmed down. Metagross going to be able to outpace to the Meteor Mash before the high horsepower. I normally say no baits on this channel, but evidently Gilbot is the best master baiter in the world, and we win a very close game. Let's go. We see some Gary on Gary action in the next battle. We're operating as a fake dragon, so we've got a huge advantage here. I really don't like this bait, if I'm honest, from Gilbot. The opponent calls it. I think there's no need to bait, as they definitely don't need to respect the Crunch. The opponent returns fire with their own Crunch. They get the defense shot. That is going to mean an Aqua Tail is going to be lethal. We don't fire off our energy. Gilbot is going to invest the Protect Shield here. Can we get the full Dragon Breath farm down? The opponent actually snipes us with Dragonite. You hate to see it. The opponent find themselves in a prime position, to be honest. Despite a really unfavourable lead, we shield up the Dragon Claw. Garchomp looking for the full Dragon Tail farm down. We this time snipe with Metagross. The opponent sends out Haxorus. Haxorus is going to start investing shields. They need to Earthquake to take us out. The opponent actually goes for the Breaking Swipe. I've got no idea why. We've got no Protect Shields. I think you should go for the Night Slash and fish for the boost. The opponent finally makes a mistake. They do invest the Protect Shield on the Meteor Mash. Again, trainer, you need to Night Slash. The opponent throws another Breaking Swipe. They then come into Gary, Waterfall farm down. Out comes Garchomp. We fire off the Sandtomb. Surely we don't win this game. Sandtomb goes unshielded. We Dragon Tail farm down. Can we Dragon Tail farm down Haxorus? No, the counter registers first, and the opponent wins a very close game. In the next battle, we see the battle of the fake dragons. Gilbot again going for a very risky Aqua Tail bait. The opponent calls it again. No. We easily tank a Crunch, so we see the instant no shield from Gilbot. As we easily tank it, I think this is the reason why I definitely wouldn't bait in this matchup. However, it looks like it's worked out for Gilbot, as we do make the Crunch now on the CMP tie. Crunch goes unshielded. We do win the 0 shield. The opponent sends out Mamoswine. They get a Powder Snow farm down. However, Mamoswine is going to be aligned with Metagross in the 2 shield, and that is not where the opponent wants to be. The opponent farms up to a potential high horsepower. We invest the shield, and Mamoswine baits us with an Avalanche. Then I'll pivot out into Ursaluna, and we go straight for the Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash gets our shield back, and here comes Garchomp. Garchomp's bulk going to be put to the test. Ice Punch, double super effective. They don't get the same type attack bonus. We tank that. We're reaching for the Outrage, and no, we die with the Outrage. This is now really tricky. Does the opponent have high horsepower as a second charge move? We respect it. The opponent full sends. We need to bullet punch farm all the way down. We do get the bullet punch farm down Mamoswine. Now going to be hit with the double meteor mash, and we're going to pull off another big fat dub. The first meteor mash draws a protect shield, but Mr. Mammoth Usurp can return to the Ice Age and go pack in. GG's and thanks for playing. Dominating lead. The opponent stays in for a second, switch out into Florges, and it looks like RPS for the win, baby. A lot of people moan that the Master League Premier is a very rock, paper, scissors meta, and this is a prime example of it. As we hard one lead and we're hard punishing the opponent on the safe switch. The opponent definitely not going to shield this up. We've still got 2 shields apiece. Out comes Haxorus, but they can't even farm us all the way down. We fire off the Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash goes unshielded. The opponent just gets one shot. They're putting all their hopes and dreams on the back of Excadrill, and Excadrill just doesn't have enough in the tank. We fire off the resisted Meteor Mash. The opponent shields it up. We need to pivot, or we're going to get farmed down. The opponent then really throws a questionable move. What the heck is going on? The opponent anticipated us pivoting, throwing the rock side. A pretty heads-up play from the opponent, but I think the correct play would have been just to farm down. This is why I say stay in school, kids, and learn to count. Because if you was counting, they would have known that easily we got the farm down, and then perhaps they would have had a chance. The opponent's now all shields down. Excadrill with no shields pretty much doesn't beat anything, if I'm being brutally honest, especially not in the 0-2 shields. We come into Garchomp, we don't even need to respect the drill run, it only has about 50%. Gilbot does respect it anyway. We can shield this up. I don't know what the opponent's doing at this stage. I think the only win confirm would be Gilbot having a heart attack, but as he sent me these battles, he's safe and well. So those were the battles with both Shadow Metagross and Shadow Garchomp. These are 2 Pokemon I don't have yet and I'm working really hard to get. You can see from this video they're both absolute menaces. They're so bulky, so powerful. I'd highly recommend building them both if you've got good IVs and the resources to do so. If you've watched the channel before, especially recently, you'll know just how powerful Shadow Gyarados is. I have used it numerous times. Mine is actually a double legacy. I do run Dragon Tail. I'd recommend keeping it on Dragon Breath because then you're more flexible. You can switch between Dragon Breath and Waterfall depending what your team needs for coverage. Speaking of returning subscribers, if you're new, consider giving me a sub as I always bring the spiciest Triple Shadow content. Enjoying the content, smash that like button. We're now about to hit Retro Cup and Master League Open. Post down below which league you'd like to see, and just post down below any Pokemon you'd like to see, and I'll continue to waste my resources and bring that very exclusive Triple Shadow content. So as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.